Something inside your head is deciding what you are allowed to know. Not in a metaphorical sense, not as a philosophy, but as a physical process happening inside the brain at this very moment. Right now, your eyes are receiving far more information than you are aware of. Your ears are capturing signals you never notice. Your skin is constantly detecting pressure, temperature, vibration, and motion. Your brain receives all of it, every second, in massive amounts. And yet, only a tiny portion reaches your awareness. The rest disappears before you ever become conscious of it. This raises a disturbing question that science has not been able to answer fully. If your brain is receiving all this information, then why are you only aware of so little? For centuries, scientists believed consciousness was something the brain produces, like a machine generating thoughts from electrical activity. Neurons fire, signals move, and somehow awareness appears. But even with advanced brain scans, computer models, and decades of neuroscience research, there is still a missing explanation. No one can fully explain how physical matter creates the feeling of being aware. How does electricity become experience? How does a network of cells become a mind that feels pain, joy, fear, and identity? This problem is known as one of the deepest mysteries in science. And despite progress in neuroscience, it remains unsolved. But a new direction of thinking is beginning to shift the conversation. Some scientists are now asking a different question entirely. Instead of asking how the brain creates consciousness, they are asking whether the brain might actually be limiting it. In this view, the brain is not just a generator of awareness. It may be a filter, a gatekeeper, a control system that decides what part of reality reaches your mind and what part is removed before you ever become aware of it. This idea changes everything because it suggests that your experience of reality is not direct. It is not complete. It is not even close to what exists outside your perception. It may be a controlled version of reality, a simplified model built for survival, not truth. Think about what this means. Every color you see, every sound you hear, every object you recognize is already processed and edited before it becomes conscious experience. The brain takes raw signals from the world and transforms them into something useful, not something complete. Neuroscience has already confirmed something important here. Human perception is extremely limited. You can only see a small range of light. You cannot hear most frequencies that exist in the environment. You cannot detect magnetic fields, radio waves, or infrared light without technology. Yet all of these are constantly present around you. So the question becomes even deeper. If reality contains far more information than your senses can detect, then what exactly are you missing? And more importantly, why are you not aware of it? Some researchers believe the answer may lie in evolution. The brain did not evolve to show you reality as it is. It evolved to keep you alive. That means efficiency matters more than accuracy. Speed matters more than detail. Survival matters more than truth. In this model, the brain does not show everything. It shows what is useful. It hides what is unnecessary. It removes complexity so that you can act quickly without being overwhelmed. But this creates a strange consequence. If your brain is constantly filtering information, then your conscious experience is not reality itself. It is a reduced version of reality shaped by biological rules. And that leads to an even more unsettling idea. What you call awareness may not be the full picture of existence. It may be only the part your brain allows you to see. Modern neuroscience has started to uncover clues that support this direction. Studies of perception show that the brain often predicts what you are going to see before you actually see it. In many cases, it fills in gaps, corrects errors, and even creates details that were never directly observed. This means that perception is not a simple recording of the world. It is a reconstruction. And if it is a reconstruction, then the brain is not just filtering reality. It is actively building a version of it. That version feels real. It feels complete, but it may be only a model. This is where the mystery of consciousness becomes even deeper. Because if your experience is a constructed model, then where is the real world? Is it outside your awareness? Or is awareness itself only a small part of a much larger system that the brain cannot fully access? These questions are no longer just philosophy. They are becoming part of serious scientific discussion. Neuroscientists, physicists, and cognitive researchers are beginning to explore whether consciousness is something the brain produces or something the brain limits. And if the second idea is even partially true, then everything you think you know about being aware may need to be reconsidered. In this video, we will go deep into that idea. We will explore why scientists still cannot explain how consciousness arises from the brain. We will look at new theories suggesting the brain is not the source of awareness, but a filter shaping it. We will examine how perception is constructed, how reality is edited before it reaches you, and why some researchers believe there may be far more to existence than human. Awareness can detect, and by the end, a simple but unsettling question will remain. If the brain is filtering reality, then what exactly are you truly aware of? Welcome to the channel. If you are interested in deep science mysteries like this, consider subscribing. Science can measure almost everything inside the brain. It can track blood flow. It can map electrical signals. It can even predict decisions a person is about to make before they become aware of them. But there is one thing it cannot fully explain. The feeling of being aware. This is where the mystery begins. In science, consciousness is usually described in two different ways. One is physical brain activity. The other is subjective experience. Brain activity is easy to observe. Neurons firing, chemicals moving, networks activating. It is measurable and precise. Subjective experience is something else. It is the inner world, the sense of being a self, the feeling of pain, color, sound, emotion, and thought. The problem is simple but deep. You can measure the brain, but you cannot directly measure experience. You can see that a region of the brain becomes active when a person sees red, but you cannot see the feeling of redness itself. You can record memory formation, but you cannot see the feeling of remembering. This gap is where science faces its biggest challenge. Neurons fire in patterns. Billions of them communicate every second. These signals carry information. They control movement, speech, vision, and memory. From the outside, it looks like a complete system, but something is missing in the explanation. None of this activity explains why it feels like something to be you. Why does electrical activity in the brain produce a first-person experience instead of silence? Why is there an inner world at all? Why is there awareness instead of nothing? Even the most advanced brain scans cannot answer this. Scientists can identify the regions involved in emotions like fear or joy. They can see patterns linked to decision-making. They can even decode simple thoughts in controlled experiments, but none of this explains how those patterns become experience. There is still no agreed mechanism that connects physical processes to subjective awareness. This is often called the hard problem of consciousness. It is not about how the brain functions. That part is well understood. It is about why those functions are accompanied by experience. For example, when neurons in a certain area fire, a person may report seeing a face. The brain activity can be mapped with precision. The visual processing pathway is known. The signals are clear, but the actual feeling of seeing a face is not found anywhere in the data. It is not in the neurons. It is not in the electricity. It is not in the chemicals. It is only experienced. This creates a strange separation. On one side, there is physical reality inside the brain. On the other side, there is private experience that cannot be observed directly by anyone else. Even with advanced neuroscience tools, this separation remains intact. Researchers have built detailed maps of brain networks. They can observe how different regions communicate. They can simulate neural activity in computers. They can even recreate simple sensory responses. But none of this closes the gap between activity and awareness. The brain can be fully active, fully measured, fully understood in terms of mechanics. And yet the question of why it feels like something to exist remains unanswered. Some scientists suggest this gap may never be closed with current methods. Others believe a new framework is needed entirely. A way of thinking that does not treat consciousness as just another output of brain activity. Because right now, even with all the data, the most direct thing anyone knows, being aware, remains the least explained phenomenon in science. A different idea is now challenging the traditional view of the brain. Instead of seeing the brain as a machine, creates consciousness, some researchers suggest something more unusual. The brain may not be generating reality at full strength. It may be limiting it. In this view, the brain is not a producer of experience. It is a selector, a filter that decides what information becomes awareness and what gets removed before it ever reaches conscious thought. This changes the role of the brain completely. It is no longer just building your reality. It is controlling how much of reality you are allowed to perceive. From an evolutionary point of view, this idea starts to make sense. The brain is expensive to run. It uses a large amount of energy compared to its size. So evolution would favor efficiency over detail, survival over accuracy, speed over completeness. In nature, the organisms that survive are not the ones that see everything. They are the ones that respond quickly to what matters. So the brain may have evolved to ignore most information in the environment, only what is useful for. Survival becomes conscious experience. Everything else is filtered out. This means your awareness is not a full representation of the world. It is a compressed version shaped by biological need. And when you look at human senses, the limitations become obvious. The visible light spectrum is extremely narrow. It is only a tiny fraction of the full electromagnetic range. There is ultraviolet light, infrared radiation, radio waves, X-rays, and gamma rays all around you at every moment. None of these are visible to the naked eye. Sound is also limited. Humans can only hear a small range of frequencies. Many animals hear far beyond this range. Some detect vibrations and signals that are completely invisible to human perception. Even touch is limited. The skin does not report everything it encounters. It filters pressure, temperature, and texture into simplified signals. The brain receives all of this input, but it does not pass everything into awareness. It selects, it compresses, it simplifies. And what reaches conscious experience is only a fraction of the total data. This raises a deeper question. If the brain is filtering so much information, then what exists outside of that filter? Is reality itself simple, matching what we perceive? Or is reality vastly more complex, with layers of information that never reach human awareness? Some scientists and philosophers suggest that reality may be far richer than what the brain allows us to experience. In this view, what we call the world is only a constructed interface, a simplified model designed for survival inside a complex system, like a map that shows only essential roads, not every detail of the terrain. The actual territory may contain far more structure, detail, and information than the map reveals. And the brain may be the system that creates that map, not by adding information, but by removing it, by filtering out everything that is not necessary for survival in a limited environment. If that is true, then human experience is not a window into full reality. It is a controlled output, a reduced signal, a version of something much larger that remains hidden behind the limits of perception. One of the most surprising discoveries in modern neuroscience is that the brain does not behave like a camera. It does not simply record reality. Instead, it predicts it. Every moment of awareness is shaped by expectation before it is shaped by input. The brain is constantly trying to guess what is about to happen. Next, it uses memory, patterns, and past experience to build a model of the world in advance. Then it compares that model with incoming sensory data. What you experience as reality is not raw information arriving from the outside world. It is the result of this constant prediction process. In many cases, the brain fills in missing information before you are even aware that something is missing. It smooths gaps. It removes uncertainty. It creates continuity where there is actually incomplete data. This means that perception is not direct. It is constructed. And the construction happens so fast that it feels real. There are simple ways to see this in action. Optical illusions reveal that the brain can be tricked into seeing shapes, colors, and motion that are not physically present. Lines appear tilted when they are straight. Static images appear to move. Shadows become solid objects. These are not failures of vision alone. They are signs that the brain is not just receiving information, it is interpreting it. Even memory shows the same pattern. Memories are not stored like recordings. They are rebuilt each time they are accessed. Studies show that details can change over time without a person noticing. Events can be reshaped by suggestion, emotion, or later experiences. A memory feels stable, but it is constantly reconstructed. This means both perception and memory share the same foundation. They are not fixed records of reality. They are ongoing predictions shaped by the brain. The brain is always trying to minimize surprise. It prefers stability over accuracy. It adjusts perception so that the world feels consistent, even if the underlying data is incomplete or ambiguous. This process is so efficient that most of the time it goes unnoticed. You feel like you are seeing the world directly. But in reality, you are seeing the brain's interpretation of signals that have already been processed, filtered, and adjusted. In this framework, conscious experience becomes something very different from what it appears to be. It is not a direct window into reality. It is a best guess, a continuously updated model that the brain creates to explain the incoming signals from the senses. And like any model, it can be wrong, or incomplete, or simplified. But because this model is generated so quickly and so consistently, it creates a powerful illusion. The illusion is that what you experience is exactly what exists outside you. Yet every layer of research into perception suggests otherwise. What reaches awareness is not raw truth. It is the brain's interpretation of signals that are already filtered, predicted, and reconstructed before you ever become aware of them. A growing number of scientists are beginning to look at consciousness from a completely different angle. Instead of focusing only on neurons, chemicals, and brain structures, they are asking a more fundamental question. What if consciousness is not purely biological at all? What if it is connected to information itself? In physics, information is becoming increasingly important. Some theories suggest that at the deepest level, reality may not be made of matter in the traditional sense. Instead, it may be made of information patterns, not objects, not particles, but structured data that gives rise to everything we see. In this view, the physical world becomes a kind of output, a result of underlying informational rules. And if reality is fundamentally informational, then the brain may not be creating consciousness from nothing. It may be decoding it. This leads to a strange but powerful idea. The brain could be acting more like a receiver than a source, like a system that interprets signals rather than generating them entirely on its own. In this model, consciousness is not produced inside the brain in the way heat is produced by fire. Instead, the brain could be interacting with a deeper layer of informational reality and translating it into experience. This idea is controversial. It is not accepted as established science, but it is being explored in philosophy of mind and theoretical physics. Some researchers point to the strange behavior of quantum systems as a reason to reconsider what reality is made of. At very small scales, particles do not behave like solid objects. They exist in probabilities. They change state when observed. They appear to respond to information and measurement in ways that challenge classical understanding. This has led some, thinkers to ask whether observation and information play a deeper role in the structure of reality itself. At the same time, neuroscience is revealing that the brain is an extremely powerful information processor. It compresses, predicts, filters, and reconstructs data at incredible speed. From this perspective, consciousness could be the result of how information is organized, not just where it comes from. The brain takes signals from the senses, processes them through layers of prediction, memory, and pattern recognition, and produces a unified experience. But the question remains whether the brain is only processing local signals or whether it is interacting with something more fundamental. This is where physics and neuroscience begin to overlap. Physics tries to explain the structure of reality at its deepest level. Neuroscience tries to explain how experience emerges from physical systems. When these two fields meet at the question of consciousness, the boundaries become unclear. Is consciousness purely a product of biological computation? Or is it linked to the way information itself exists in the universe? Some theories suggest that consciousness might not be confined to the brain at all. Instead, the brain could be one interface among many possible systems capable of accessing informational reality. This does not mean consciousness exists without the brain. It means the brain may not be the full origin of it. It could be a translation system, a decoder of something deeper, and if that is even partially true, then the line between physical reality and experience reality becomes far less clear than science once believed. If the brain is filtering reality, then a deeper question appears. What exactly is being removed? Every moment of experience is shaped by selection. Some signals are allowed into awareness. Others are suppressed before they ever reach conscious thought. This means perception is not only about what is shown, it is also about what is hidden. But the hidden part is not empty. It is still information, still part of the environment, still part of reality, yet it never becomes part of experience. This raises a disturbing possibility. There may be layers of reality that human awareness is completely blind to, not just details, not just noise, but entire dimensions of structure that never enter perception at all. We already know that human senses are limited, but limitation alone does not explain everything. The brain does not. Simply misinformation. It actively organizes and reduces it. It builds a simplified model of the world and removes anything that does not fit that model. This suggests that perception is not just incomplete. It is selective in a structured way. It is not random blindness. It is controlled filtering, and that filtering may be shaped by survival. From an evolutionary perspective, the brain did not develop to explore truth. It developed to keep organisms alive long enough to reproduce. That means efficiency is more important than completeness. A brain that processed every signal in the environment would be overwhelmed. Too much information can slow reaction time. It can create confusion. It can reduce survival chances. So evolution may have favored a system that ignores most of reality. Only what matters for immediate survival becomes conscious. Everything else is discarded. But this creates a hidden cost. If the brain is optimized for survival rather than truth, then awareness is not designed to show reality as it is. It is designed to show a usable version of reality, a version that is fast, simple, stable, not complete. And this leads to a strange thought. Human consciousness may not be a full access system to existence. It may be a restricted interface shaped by biological limits. There could be aspects of reality that are fundamentally outside human experience. Not because they are far away, but because the brain is not structured to represent them at all. Some scientists describe this as a cognitive boundary, a limit not of space or time, but of perception itself. Beyond that boundary, reality could continue in forms that are completely inaccessible to human awareness. This idea is difficult to test because anything outside perception cannot be directly measured or experienced. It is like trying to detect something using a tool that was never built to recognize it. And this leads to a final unsettling possibility. If the brain is both filtering and constructing experience, then there may be no point at which human consciousness ever touches reality directly. Not fully, not completely, not without interpretation. Every moment of awareness may already be processed, simplified, and shaped before it becomes experience. And if that is the case, then direct contact with raw reality may not be something the human mind is capable of achieving at all. Across all of this research, one idea keeps returning in different forms. Consciousness may not be fully created by the brain in the way we once believed. It may be shaped by it, limited by it, filtered through it. The brain may not be building the entire experience of reality from nothing. Instead, it may be taking something far larger, far more complex, and reducing it into a form that human awareness can handle. A simplified version of something much bigger. This changes the way we think about everything we experience. The world you see, the sounds you hear, the sense of being a self inside a body, all of it may be the result of a system that is not showing everything, but only what is necessary for survival and function. And if that is true, then consciousness is not a perfect mirror of reality. It is a controlled interface. Science is still far from answering this question with certainty. There is no agreement on whether consciousness is produced by neurons alone, whether it is filtered from something deeper, or whether it comes from principles we have not discovered yet. Every model explains part of the picture, but none of them complete it. Neuroscience can map the brain in detail. Physics can describe the structure of matter and information. Philosophy can explore the meaning of experience. But the exact point where physical processes become inner awareness is still unknown. That gap remains open. And in that gap, the mystery continues to grow. Because the more we learn about the brain, the more it seems that what we experience is not the full story of reality. It is only what passes through the limits of a system built for survival inside a complex universe. This leads to a final reflection. The greatest mystery in science may not be the universe outside us. It may be the awareness inside us that is trying to understand it. The fact that we can even ask these questions suggests something deeper is happening within consciousness itself, something that still has no clear explanation. And perhaps that is where the real journey begins. If you want to explore more deep questions about the mind, reality, and the universe, stay with this channel. Subscribe for more videos that go beyond the surface and into the unknown.